Sometimes, and honestly, more times than we tend to admit, we just need to be held. Looking out into the world or looking down into our own souls, words are not what we need, but an embrace. At the beginning of all of our lives, we are brought into this world not to an explanation of how things work, but we're wrapped in a blanket and placed in the tender arms of our mother, and for Rebecca, then into the tender arms of her sister. At this most intimate moment of our lives, we are not able to express any of our needs. We don't even know what needs are yet, but we know that in the arms of our mother, we are exactly where we need to be. In times of rejoicing, we leap into the embrace of another, and in times of love, we rest in the arms of our beloved. In times of sorrow, we seek the comfort of those whom we love, and sometimes we just want. We actually need to be held. We don't want to be held at a distance, smushed between two hands and merely stared at. We want to be held close, embraced, and next to the heart. Because I think that our innate desire to be held comes from our innate desire to be loved, to be in another's heart. We want to be as close to them as possible, within their arms, within their bosom, within their heart. In the mystery of the history of the world, we believe in a God who opened his arms to the whole world so as to embrace them with his love. We believe in a God who desired that all may come to him and even allowed his side to be opened, to be pierced, so that we might enter in. But so too do we believe in a God that at this greatest moment in history, he gave to the world his own beloved mother, the one who held all these things, who held us in her heart. It is a privileged place of a mother to show the world the meaning of love, to be the one who receives us in our good times and in our bad, to hold us in her arms and to carry us in her heart. I had the pleasure of spending some time with Rebecca in the Holy Land. Together with her husband John and her son Deacon Daniel, we walked the same streets that Christ himself walked with his own mother. And at those times in the darkened streets of a foreign land, I was thankful to be walking next to her, knowing that the presence of a mother's love will make all things right. Rebecca, or Mrs. Ciucci, our adopted pilgrimage mother, had eyes of wonder at the goodness of God and eyes of gratitude when we told them about her. We were all experiencing these fresh and new sights of God, yet in her own profundity, she was also experiencing us, experiencing them. She held all these things, but more importantly, she held all of us in her heart. The delight in her eyes showed us, her adopted children, how to be grateful for the gifts of God. We ate fish together in the Sea of Galilee, prayed at the Wailing Wall, and danced in Cana. After you and her renewed your vows, the place where Jesus Christ encountered the married couple, but also the place where he began his public ministry at the prompting of his own mother. I was impressed by her fervor, delighted by her joy, and deeply moved by her love. I was only with her a short time in this precious life. And I'm sure that those of you who have been with her longer, who have walked with her longer, have more memories and love than I can ever imagine. The ways in which she held you, Greg, and you, Father Daniel. And you, Alexander, her own children in her own arms, the way in which she loved you, cared for you, sacrificed for you, and delighted in you. These memories of love are treasures from God and glorious jewels in the kingdom of heaven. But it would not be fitting to neglect the final part of Rebecca's beautiful expression of love to the world. To neglect a great gift that God has given us through her. For we have seen how she has loved us, but also she has shown us how to be loved by God. She held us in her arms, yet also she showed us how to be held by God himself. For in the wide variety of children, which are the ones that are typically held the most? Which child is most accustomed to the throne of his mother's arms? The strong? The weak? The fleet of foot? The brave? It's the weak. It's the weak. It's precisely the weak child with difficulty walking. It's the infant who is totally dependent on his mother that gets to move with the freedom of adults. It is the child whose legs are weak that has the dignity of being held closest to the heart. It is the child who stumbles and falls, who has the gift of being picked up. But how many times can we fall and be picked up? 5 times? 6 times? 7 times? No. 70 times 7 times. We believe in a God who never tires of lifting us to his heart, who never tires of accepting our yearning for healing and freedom, who never tires of hearing our sincere confession, our loving plea, our beg for mercy. Truly, we believe in a God who never tires of going after the lost sheep, who never tires of loving them and bringing them close to himself, and in so doing, rejoices at the lost sheep of his. For it is the lost sheep who is carried by God, the lost one, the messy one, the hurting one, the sick one, the lonely one, who is carried in the arms of the Good Shepherd. It is the one who is unable to come back on their own power, whose legs are weak and body feeble. It is the poor one. It is this sheep who has the privilege of being in the bosom of God. Truly, therefore, blessed are the poor. Blessed are the poor, those who mourn. Blessed are the weak and feeble, the messy and repentant, for they shall be carried by God. God loves these weak and poor ones because they let him carry him. They let him bring him close to his heart. We are all weak. We are all sick. And we all, like sheep, have gone astray. So blessed are we if we receive the embrace of God. Blessed are we if in our sadness and our weakness and our infirmity and our loneliness and our fear, we let ourselves be held. Blessed are we if, like Rebecca Ciucci, in our weakness and in our love, we manifest the strength of God and enjoy eternally his embrace.
A few months ago, when I was blessing my mother's apartment, I went to go bless the closet with holy water. My mom has an L-shaped closet, and in the back hidden part of the closet, I discovered a kneeler with a crucifix and a holy water font and a rosary and a Bible that looked like it had actually been used by a Catholic. And as soon as I saw that, I just broke down seeing this implicit witness of my mom who went into the secret of her room and prayed, that despite her imperfections, her own brokenness, she sought the love of God above all things. As I was growing up, my mom would always push me and my brothers to go out and make friends. Starting in the 2nd grade, it wasn't until the 8th grade that I had returned to the same school. My dad, and his good providence for our family, his job required that we moved around a lot. So I was always the new kid. I was always the left out kid. But my mom always encouraged us to make friends. And so when the Lord started calling me to the priesthood, one of my greatest fears was that of loneliness. Look how the Lord has answered that today. That the Lord has given me far more beyond what I could have even asked for myself, and by extension, that love has flooded my family. Thank you for being fellow pilgrims on the way to salvation through Jesus Christ.